ready for another lesson?
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Back Row Banter, your favorite casual movie talk podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Adam Schwartz, and on this week's episode, we'll be talking about the movie Gladiator. But of course, before we get to any of that, I'm joined today by Senator Nathaniel Gingrich.
That's me. I'm a senator in the old Roman Republic.
Yes.
I walk around. I eat things. Sometimes I watch the gladiators. It's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Is it?
I mean, it's better than being a soldier, I feel like. They all seem cold or really tired.
Or dead.
You know, or dead, yeah.
Or maimed.
I mean, homeboy didn't even live in Italy. He's in Spain. That's a different country. So, yeah, I mean, I guess if I was in Rome, I'd want to be from there. Seems like the better place to be overall.
Yeah, typically. I mean, depends on your social status. You know, if you're a plebeian.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, right? I'm if we're doing the like mental math and looking back, I would be no one special. So I'd probably be, I don't know, some sort of like farm dude or a shop hand, maybe, if I'm lucky. If I didn't die of some sort of plague by 13 or something.
Yeah. You know, watching Gladiator, this does beg the question that I don't know if we've ever answered on a pod. And we're a bit late to getting to this, but how often do you guys think about the Roman Empire?
Not at all. And I've always felt out of step with that meme.
See, that's
never
funny you say that, because that meme came about and I was like, oh, you don't think about the Roman Empire all the time?
Nope.
I'm thinking about it all the time. I'm maybe not daily, but at least 2 or 3 times a week, and that was before the memes came out. But yeah, no, I think about the Roman Empire often. A lot about their concrete. You know, when I see concrete falling apart, I'm like, the Roman concrete, man. If we just had Roman concrete, it would solve a lot of problems with their infrastructure. That's all I'm saying.
Is there like mythical concrete that the Romans have that we don't?
Their concrete, we don't know how they made it, but it's more durable than ours. I've heard 2 things, and they're not. It's not the same answer as to like how they made their concrete so strong.
It sounds like some
one I heard is
shit.
like it's made with limestone, and it's like they mix it in there. The other one I heard a couple different things. It's like either made with limestone. One is like they made it with like volcanic ash or something like that, and the other is that they just kind of heated it as it was mixing, and something about the heating of the process made it different. I don't know. We still don't know what they. I don't think we have confirmed what they've made their concrete out of, but it was much more durable, and it like self-repaired itself almost. So like when water would erode it, the water would have some kind of reaction with it where it would like solidify almost, and it would maintain more of its structure that way. So it would erode, but then the same water would also like solidify kind of. It had some kind of like healing effect. I'm not a scientist or an archaeologist or anything these things, so I'm not pretending to like know exactly what I'm talking about here, but there's something about it where it could basically self-repair, and that's why we still have the Colosseum is still standing, the Roman aqueducts are still standing, a lot of their roads are still standing, just because their concrete was so insanely strong. And ours, you pave a sidewalk and it's crumbling 3 years later. So there's something about what they did, and we still don't know how to recreate it. But they were onto something, those Romans, with their concrete.
I don't know. It smells weird.
I'm not crazy.
There was blood mixed into it.
Oh, there could be that. I mean, yeah. Did they consider the fact that the Colosseum was just soaked in blood?
True.
Roman concrete was a hydraulic setting cement used in ancient Rome for construction projects. It's made of slaked lime, tephra, and volcanic ash. Okay. There's a chemical reaction.
Sounds like
when
we know what it's made out of.
Seawater came into contact with Roman concrete, the lime, volcanic ash, and water reacted to create calcium, aluminum, silicate hydrate bonds, which are exceptionally strong. Roman's concrete durability is due to the unique combination of ingredients and the chemical reaction that occurs when it comes into contact with water.
That
so
all
I wasn't
makes
too
it
far off.
That all makes it sound like we pretty much know what it's made out of, though.
was gonna say it sounds
does
like
sound
we
like
know.
it. It does sound like we cracked the code. Now, why we aren't recreating this, I don't know. This looks like it's a recent
Probably
discovery,
because there's no money in roads that repair themselves.
or
That's so true.
a lack of volcanic ash at any given
Now
time.
now you're onto something. Don't talk too much more, Ty. They're gonna be knocking on your door pretty soon.
Yeah. Mr. FBI agent, we want nothing to do with that.
But as I'm seeing this, it looks like a lot of the articles I'm seeing on this are pretty recent, within the last 2023. So maybe this was just a very recent discovery. I kind of remember seeing it in headlines last year. But yeah, no, I to answer my original question, I do think about the Roman Empire quite a bit, and a lot about their concrete. Just think it's fascinating.
Yeah, I'm going to come out on the side of not at all.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
Don't really think about it.
Nathaniel
I can
doesn't
keep
think
going.
about it, but he's definitely involved in it pretty much every Saturday because UFC is the closest thing that we have
That's true.
to
Yeah,
gladiators and a blood
it's
sport
true.
that still is alive today.
I mean, I guess that's maybe that's where I'm I'm coming at it from. I don't think about it because I live it, every weekend.
Right.
I don't have to think
All
about
right,
it.
all right,
Because I'm
all right.
still living in the
Calm
Roman
down.
Empire. I've
Calm
never
down.
not been.
Also joining us today is Praetorian Ty, Tyler Rodellis.
What's going on?
What a sick title for like a rank in the military, like I'm a Praetorian.
It is
Like, I don't
pretty
know. That's
pretty
pretty cool.
legit.
Praetorian, Legionnaire. I don't know what the other terms are.
They definitely
for
have
their
way
ranks.
cooler ranks
Yeah,
than
and like their armor's super
private,
cool, cool
corporal.
shields. Yeah, man, like just everything about the Romans is pretty cool. They don't, they don't make militaries like they used to. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Would you rather be a Praetorian or would you rather be a brigadier? Because I think I'd rather be a brigadier.
I don't know.
I'd rather be a master chief.
Oh, sure. I'd rather be a cog.
Yeah.
Adam, that was fucking hilarious though.
Thanks, Doc.
good old taking over the entire fucking world. We don't make it.
Yeah, they really.
Unfortunately.
Right. Don't get me started about the Mongolian Empire.
I was learning about that the other day.
Yeah, what were you learning? Pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean those dudes were just kind of illiterate and smart, but like illiterate, and they were just kind of like, hey, if we just keep conquering people, we'll never have to stop. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
For a while.
It's crazy when you like look in the vacuum at history and like how like streamlined ideas were at that point, right? It was like, we can't really do much else, but if we just keep conquering people, we don't have to learn anything.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We don't have to slow down and think about why we're
not at all.
conquering or what we're gonna
Yeah,
do
they
with
were
all these people.
They were saying that like he didn't even like really care on like the religious side of things. He would like leave the religions in place, but he'd just be like, okay, but like just put in a good word for me. Like,
talking about Genghis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chinggis, as I've learned, is actually pronounced.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Well,
they think it's
the more you know.
Chinggis Khan.
Okay.
But
well, his real name was Temujin.
Yeah, Temujin.
Temujin. That was his real name. The more you know. My favorite thing the Mongolians did. They would.
This is a weird
I was gonna
take.
say, is this how you want to start that sentence?
No, it's not. It's not.
Let's make sure
I said that. I said that and immediately
Mongolian
paused.
Yeah.
I
Was
immediately paused.
there
I did-
diverse and
All right, let me rephrase. Let me rethink and rephrase.
and non-gendered meritocracy.
The most interesting thing that I have learned about the Mongolian Empire, and when they would conquer people, is if they ran into a city that wouldn't surrender, they would take animals that were infected with the bubonic plague, and they would catapult them over the walls of the cities and just infect them until they just gave up. Pretty smart.
Humane.
What animals do you think we're using?
Rats, probably.
Mm.
A lot of rats. That's how the bubonic plague spread mostly.
Okay.
is fleas on
Vermin.
rats. They would the fleas would bite the rats who had the plague, and then the fleas would jump to humans, bite humans. You got the plague. Same thing with yellow fever. Stay away from mosquitoes.
Well,
Mosquitoes
that's
spreading that
possible.
yellow. Well, you're right. That is impossible. But yeah, mosquitoes spreading diseases. Yeah, stay away from the bugs, man. They're not as innocent as they look.
I've seen Starship Troopers. I know how it goes.
Yeah. Also joining us today is big backstabbing BlakeHolder.
Hey, what up? What up?
A lot of plots, a lot of backstabbing going on here. You ever
Yeah.
backstab somebody, Blake?
Literally, no.
Okay.
Figuratively, I mean, I would like to say no, but realistically, I'm sure there's someone out there who could be like, yes, Blake's done it wrong.
You're the villain in somebody's story.
For sure.
Everybody is.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
right?
You got to
Mr.
realize your
Water
place.
Part of being an adult.
Yeah.
Some Mortal Kombat kid is just out there cursing your name.
Yeah, like there's someone in the vast.
This is my main op,
Earth
Mr.
we've
Water
had.
Coolers.
For sure.
Jesus.
Yeah. It's like that
Yeah.
one guy I played on PlayStation or Xbox 15 years ago. I fucking hate that guy.
Yeah, man.
So, yeah, man. How was everybody's weekend? Well, I guess first, did anybody watch the Jake Paul Mike Tyson fight? I feel like I have to probe that conversation here. I know
Nope.
Yeah.
a big
Why not?
arts combat sports guy.
Why not, Ty?
I don't typically care about anything that a Paul is tied to.
That's fair.
I do heavily agree with that. I
agree.
I need to.
And I think the reason these fights do so well is because so many people want to see Jake Paul get his ass beat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But somehow it never happens. I wonder why.
So did you end up watching it, Adam?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Nathaniel?
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched it.
Okay. Thoughts,
Kinda-
comments? Because I didn't. It seems like me and Ty obviously stayed away from it.
It was a pretty boring fight, and now since it's ended, I've seen a lot of people analyzing the fight and saying that Tyson started pulling his punches. Don't know how much truth there is to that. Probably some. I don't know. No, you don't think so?
Nah.
What do you think happened?
I think he's
Expert
50.
I mean,
opinion.
the guy is 60.
Well, he is
right?
58.
I think he's
Okay.
58, and you like the first thing to go in your from your athletic prime is your timing. And so, like, yeah, those openings look huge, but he's also in the 6th round after he's been rocked like twice, has no legs left. I just don't think he can pull the trigger.
That's fair.
Absolutely, Jake Paul carried him. He didn't finish him. He carried him through the end of that fight and made the decision that he was going to go the distance and jab with him. But I made that call ahead of the fight and placed money on the fact that Jake Paul was going to win by a decision. So I won like $50 on the night.
Nice.
And,
Not
like,
Are you making money on these sports bets, Nathaniel? Because I watched UFC with you one night, and you're like, "Yeah, just made money on that fight, made money on that." You were like 4 for 5 on the main card.
Yeah, I'll generally be able to pay for like the card itself or something like that.
Nice.
But no, I mean betting on fighting is an insane thing to do in general, and like I lose just as often as I win. So like if I'm lucky, I break even. But like it's it was really weird as a combat sports fan, right? As like the thing, I was interested to hear what your buddy Tay was saying as well too, because like obviously there was like the Serrano Taylor fight ahead of it, which was great. Like that was genuinely like 2 of the best female fighters in the world, or female boxers, I should say, throwing down.
I heard the undercard was pretty good.
Super exciting, yeah. The other one, I think there was a belt before that as well too. That was a great back and forth fight. And the other fight I saw in there was like an influencer one. And like the crazy thing, I guess I come back to is that like there's almost like 3 gaps, right? There's like a huge gap between someone who's like, I'm a good athlete and I will train boxing for 8 weeks and go and take an exhibition fight or something like that, right? And like how they look versus someone like Jake Paul who's like, I've been in this for like 4 years now, and like I am a good athlete and I have all the money to train with like the best coaches in the world, and like he's like legitimately like he's not a great boxer. He's a decent boxer though. Like at this point, and he is in his athletic prime. Like he's 29 years old, and I mean he's juiced to the fucking gills as well too.
Sure.
Like you don't get acne like that when you're 30 unless you've got some other things going on as well too. So like all of that is to say, there's still a gargantuan gap to another like pro level elite boxer between him and Jake Paul as well too. And I think the general public has just watched so many Rocky movies and like believed and like and has Mike Tyson from The Hangover still in their mind that like they think that like age just doesn't apply to him, and that like because he was great then he was going to be able to be able to be great this past weekend, even if for just a moment, and that's just not how combat sports work.
Yeah.
So
That's fair.
I don't know.
Craziest part of the fight was seeing Mike Tyson's ass.
Whole ass. That was the funniest thing I've ever
wide
seen,
open.
dude. That was
It's
it was
wide in the open.
incredible.
I did end up
And I
seeing
caught that. I caught that live too. Like
So did I. Yeah.
I went to my girlfriend's this past weekend. And so we were watching it, and then it was me and her roommate were the only ones watching the TV at the time, and I was like, did I just see like
It was
what just
it was like a Tim and
then
Eric
she was
sketch.
like, you saw that? And I was like, yeah, okay, I'm glad that somebody can corroborate that. Because I wasn't sure.
It was like an I
right
think
away.
you should leave bit. Like it was incredible. Like
it was.
It
was.
And so like it was cool. Like I was happy that people were like watching a boxing fight kind of thing, you know?
Sure.
But yeah, I mean it was a weird weekend in general for combat sports. Like not only that, but then like to
Well, I watched the UFC fights on Saturday.
did you as well too? You got to
I
see,
did,
get to see the Trump show. The fucking
Oh my god.
Really quick though, and I want to ask one question to you two, and particularly Nathaniel as well, because he's kind of our resident combat sports guy. But like, are we on the side of the fence that like we think that is completely rigged?
No.
And it's going into. You don't think so? No. You think they're actually out there?
If you've ever seen like
dead ass serious,
there are rigged fights that you can see out in the world. Like, and if you've ever seen one, like it is so obvious that it's rigged. Like it's impossible. It's the same as like it's the same as if you've ever sat down and watched the WWE, where it's not like where it's planned, but it's not like choreographed the way like a fight scene would be in a movie or something. There's just room for things to go wrong, and you can just still tell that the acting is there, right? But in that fight, like I fully believe that Mike Tyson came in there thinking that he was going to have a fight, which for like me, like what it became was it looked like two dudes sparring. Like that's what a sparring session looks like.
Okay.
Where each guy is getting to do their stuff. You're coming into the round. You're going to throw strikes to each other. It's 85% power, you know, and that's by round 6 or 7. I feel like they were in that mode. But like in the first minute or two, Tyson was trying to do his thing. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But
so you don't think they're going into it that, and sure, it may not be rigged to the capacity of WWE, right? Like that would probably be a stretch. But you don't think they're going into it under the assumption that Paul is going to win this boxing match? The distance.
I think everyone that paid attention and has paid attention has known that Mike Tyson has only ever spoken positively about Jake Paul in the years approaching this, and that like they have always been friendly until the kind of like first delay in this thing happened. Now, do I think Mike Tyson was trying to sell the fight ahead of time? 100%. Do I think Jake Paul was trying to do the same thing? 100%.
Yeah.
But like the whole idea of like, was there an agreement ahead of time that this is how this fight is going to go and like this is what it's going to be? No. But is there like a thing of like, listen, this dude's 29 and he's going to be able to go out there and fight you, and the deck is completely stacked against you? Yeah, 100%. Like, I mean, that's just how it goes.
Sure.
And like that's a story in combat sports and stuff that has gone on forever. This is just this version of it that's happening as well too, and it's the one that caught the most attention at this point, right? Because to Adam's point, everyone wants to see Jake Paul get beat
For
up.
sure. That's the draw.
Like no
right?
one wants to think that like this kid who's a brat and like is a like piece of shit can go out and beat these dudes that like in our minds are heroes. But yeah, time is undefeated, and that's just he's
Father
making a
Time
lot of
is
money,
undefeated.
doing
Yeah.
it. And so I mean, at a certain point, you got to be like, all right, like Tyson and Paul put on a show. They both made a shit ton of money. I want people that are doing the fighting to make a shit ton of money. I don't want Netflix to make a shit ton of money. I don't want the,
Yeah,
the
right. I guess I
MVP
hear you on that.
promotions to make a
Right.
shit ton of money off of it. If anyone is going to make money off people watching them do this or be there in person and do this, I want it to be the fighters. So
For
like,
sure.
that's the. But like this is almost like the soul tax that you pay with combat sports, right? Like it is a thing of like. It's always been this, and people choose their fights. That was a huge thing this weekend with the UFC as well, between John Jones and Stipe Miocic. John Jones sat out for years and then pulled Stipe off the couch, who's been retired since 2020, to come out and fight him and say that he's the greatest in the world. Yeah, they're selling you that image, but it's also the carnival too. I don't know. It's an interesting world.
Yeah, I got you. Fair. I was just curious where you laid on that spectrum. Obviously, you hear a lot of
Yeah, I like
people on both sides of it, you know? So I was just curious on
like
how value your, in combat sports.
I truly believe that there was no fix in on this, nor was this rigged or anything like that. But were people fooling themselves into thinking that Mike Tyson maybe had a chance at this thing? Yeah.
Oh, for
yeah, they were.
I agree with that.
And like again, Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano would never have that many views, would never have that many eyeballs on them at any given time if Jake Paul and Mike Tyson weren't doing that as well too.
Yeah,
So-
that's true. So they brought eyes to the women's boxing world.
Yeah, and I mean like
Right,
that's
yeah.
the thing you can take away from it. I mean, again, we're talking a lot about that. The UFC fight the next day was a big thing as well too. That was pretty crazy. I know, Adam, you said you saw that.
Yeah.
You watched the main card
Good
as well
fights.
too.
Watch the whole thing. Yeah. Pretty good fights. The I think it was just the one leading into the title fight. Was pretty good. Where
Michael
the guy body slammed him
Michael
twice.
Chandler, Charles Oliveira. Yeah.
yeah.
So Charles Oliveira is probably my second favorite fighter on the roster.
Yeah.
And yeah, he was fighting Michael Chandler, who's a lunatic as well too.
I mean, they all are, but
Sure, I mean they fight in a cage for a living. Yeah, no, that was incredible as well, and then at least made the pain of John Jones winning a little bit better.
yeah, that guy does not seem like I heard some things about him that made me
He had a pregnant lady.
not want him.
In a hit and run while he was drunk.
Yep.
Spent
That's-
prison time in it. Did prison time.
Yeah.
No one.
Yeah.
and we're
Haven't
just-
we all?
yeah, forgiving him.
Well,
This was, and that was before he decided to get drunk and start driving around New Mexico, shooting off shots in the middle of the night as well too, outside the strip club.
That's
I've
lovely.
also done that. Like that's like a regular thing.
Yeah.
If
that
you're gonna
sarcasm,
shoot-
ladies and
This guy
gentlemen, really
that
sarcasm.
weird or
If you're gonna go out and just shoot random directions, it's probably you're better off doing
No, I
it
mean,
in Mexico.
This is the
I
guy
will
that
give him credit on that.
two Blakes.
You're not wrong.
This is actually where Blake might come in. John Jones is the brother of Chandler and Arthur Jones of football fame.
Yeah.
And he's the smallest of them. And if you know anything about that family and their competitiveness, you might know about what kind of chip that put on his shoulder
For
as
sure.
a human being.
Yeah. That's why he's a phenomenal fighter.
It 100% is. It also means you can 100% predict his mental hangups. He will not fight someone that's taller and stronger than him. Like that's why it's been this whole thing of like him going up to heavyweight. He's been claiming he's going to do it for years. There was a heavyweight that he could have fought, Francis Ngannou, who was
I was going to
best in
say,
the
is that
world.
the heavyweight guy? I
Yeah.
feel like I
Yeah,
know
I've
that.
heard of
And
that guy.
John was like, "Oh no, I need to put on a ton of weight so that I can go up there and do it properly." So he waited for 3 years until Francis left, and then he pulled in Stipe, who has been retired for 4 years because he lost to Francis. And weirdly enough, John Jones weighed in only like 5 pounds heavier than he used to for 205. So maybe he didn't need to actually put on the weight. I don't know.
Yeah.
Convenient.
Anyways, let's stop talking about this because I've already talked too long about it. I'm sorry, guys.
It's all no, you're
All
good.
good. You were asking questions.
You know,
We'd
just
love to hear
you
them.
know, sometimes you got to get that.
Sometimes
what
we
we're
gotta talk
watching out of the way.
UFC.
Can you guys, you know, throw back like 100 episodes ago when we would do what we're watching and news
At the
and
start.
news streaming first, yeah, and then our review segment was like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Throwback. Anyway, yeah, let's get into that main review segment that we just alluded to. Welcome, listeners, to the main review segment. Nathaniel, if the listener here is new or maybe they've just forgotten, can you give them a rundown of how the review segment works?
Well, yeah, as Tyler alluded to, the UFC is a lot like Gladiators, and we're talking about Gladiator this week. Segue. But if you've just forgotten, or maybe you're new, folks, the way that the review segment works here on Back Row Banter is it is split into two sections. There's the non-spoiler section, then there's the spoiler section. It's pretty self-explanatory. In the non-spoiler section, we'll go over the IMDb page, who's in it, who wrote it, who directed it, all of that good stuff. We'll go around the squadron and decide if we recommend it. It's got to be a yes or no. There is no nuance on the internet. We'll also talk about the summary on IMDb, see how we feel about that as well, too. It'll be spoiler time from then on. If you don't have anything spoiled for you for a quite literally 24-year-old movie, then go
Holy
ahead.
shit.
Go ahead.
I'm 24.
And keep it packing. Keep it moving. We'll see you after the break. You can see where it is in our show notes, and we'll see you where we rank everything on our entropy list, which is our big list of everything we've watched on the podcast ranked. With that being said, Adam, tell me about Ridley Scott's Gladiator.
I would love to. This is not a new movie, as Nathaniel mentioned, released in the year 2000. It's rated R with a runtime of 2 hours and 35 minutes and an IMDb rating of 8.5 out of 10. It's directed by Ridley Scott, of course, the king, or one of them, I should say. But Ridley Scott returns to the entry list, and it's written by David Franzani, John Logan, and William Nicholson. The cast includes Russell Crowe, Joaquin Phoenix, Connie Nielsen, and then I don't know. There's a lot of like those are definitely the main three.
Those are the big
I don't.
ones.
If I keep listing names,
Richard
it's just gonna be
Harris,
like
I'd say, he's
Richard
the other
Harris.
one, kind of Marcus Aurelius at the start. But,
yeah, but not a ton of other
Oliver
names
Reed.
that I
Oliver
recognize.
Reed.
Oh yeah,
is a big one, and I'd say Jaimin Hansu as
yes,
Jubba.
yes, that guy I recognize as well. But besides that, I don't really know anyone else, or at least don't recognize many names here. But Russell Crowe and Joaquin Phoenix and Connie Nielsen, probably the main three you need to know, and the main three that you would recognize. The IMDb summary for the movie reads as follows. A former Roman general sets out to exact revenge against the corrupt emperor who murdered his family and sent him into slavery.
Wow.
I don't know. Don't love that, doesn't capture the grandiose of the movie, the sheer scale of the Gladiator epic that is told here, but few words can.
The scale, you say?
Yes, this is a spectacle. This is when movies were movies. You know what I mean? What was the term you called this type of movie last week, Nathaniel? It was like the sandal something.
Swords and Sandals.
Swords and Sandals. Yes. Now elaborate on that for me.
Yeah, I mean,
like what other movies would you say fit
your
into that
Sword and Sandals
genre?
kind of like epic. I mean, I think the first one that people talk about would be like your Ben-Hur kind of thing traditionally, but it's anyone that's kind of set during that kind of Roman Greek epic time. So anything that has to do with like the Iliad, the Odyssey, Spartacus, Gladiator for sure, Troy, Kingdom of Heaven borderline, I guess. But anything that's kind of like that, not medieval, but you're going to still tell an epic kind of tale, a lot of times in kind of the Grecian cradle of life area as well, too.
Sure.
Yeah.
Cool.
Swords and sandals. That's what they wear.
This is like my somewhat first viewing ish. I think I mentioned last week. I've tried to watch this twice before and fell asleep both times. First time I fell asleep pretty quick. Second time I fell asleep like halfway through. I got all the way through this one. This watch through. But that does, I'm still, it still leaves me feeling the same way about this movie, where this is like the best boring movie I've ever seen. Like it's a great movie, hands
It's the
down.
most
Like I had a good time.
Zoomer way
I really
could have
enjoyed it.
described it.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I like this movie, and I think it is good, and I understand the appeal, and it has some fantastic moments. But it's 2 hours and 35 minutes, and it's a bit slow here and there, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just gonna say it. Might be a hot take, a little boring here and there. I'm not gonna lie.
I do kind of understand, because I feel like I can remember feeling a similar way about Braveheart, where I was like, I understand this was the biggest movie at the time, but I've seen things that do scope and kind of like scale bigger at that point, or like kind of a different vibe. But I can remember this movie in particular was like the first movie that my local Blockbuster that like was brand new opened like at the grocery store kind of complex down by the end of our street, and they had the Gladiator like poster on the wall, but not like the full on advertisements that took up like the size of the window. And I can remember as a kid being like, the first time seeing something like that and being like, oh damn, like movies make you feel small. And like that's a thing that movies can do, and like can put you in that place. And then I think it was like still a couple years later until I saw it for the first time. But I think still for the folks that were seeing it at that time, like there is something about this movie that just works for the turn of the century, millennials. Like there's a certain space that this one occupies, I feel like. And maybe Tyler and Blake could talk a little bit more about that as well too.
I mean, maybe not the most, right? Because this is essentially a first watch for me, where I feel like because of how big this movie was at its time, right? And this is one that I can guarantee you I've seen in high school.
Sure.
Right? Just never in its totality, and only one time. So this is essentially a first watch again for me. And I don't want to say I reside with our former Gen Z guest here, or it's the best boring movie of all time, but it's like I just don't know if, based off how movies are created today, I don't know if I like going back and watching movies based like this if I don't have nostalgia tied to it. I guess that's the most effective way for me to make my comment.
That's so weird, because I feel like on this watch, I was like, I remember this movie as being like chunky and long, and I was like, it just flows so well. Like I was just chilling.
I mean, yeah, it's good. It was long as fuck for me to kind of sit through, and it's very heavy dialogue driven. And Joaquin Phoenix is awesome in this. I almost forgot how good he is in this. And now going back, I can see why he became the actor that he's noted as today.
Is this his big break?
I feel like this was his big like coming out party. Yeah, for sure. Like this is definitely this is what put him on the rise afterwards.
Sorry.
We're gonna get fucking canceled on
this. You know what? This might be the last episode.
Bro, Trump's in office. If anything, we'll get more viewers at this point.
Right. Yeah, that's funny. But yeah, so I mean, yeah, he's a standout in this for sure. And Russell Crowe's good as well. But yeah, I guess that's kind of my brief take. But ultimately, I don't have the huge nostalgic tie to it. So maybe I can't speak to it to that degree. That maybe that's a Ty and Nathaniel comment. Ty, I'm sure this one means a lot to you. I'm sure you've seen this countless times. I could be wrong though.
Yeah, no. I definitely saw this when it first came out. I remember like and like there's still times where I do it, not as much today, but you'll just like stand out in like the sun and like
Yeah.
that moment in the beginning and like throughout the movie where you just see him standing in the wheat field just like brushing his hands across the top of the wheat and like the sun's just touching your face. Like I could do that all day. That's like a visual for like inner peace for me. So I also have a very fond relationship with the Roman Empire. I really got into like gladiators, and just kind of like that whole scene. Justin and I used to play a game. I can't remember what it's called. It might have just been called Gladiators or Coliseum or something like that. But you were literally gladiators, and it was like turn based. And you would like get different gear, and so I fell in love with kind of just like that whole kind of scene, and something that I continue to enjoy to this day. But killer movie. This was like huge Russell Crowe moment for me. I'm like, he is him. I started yelling Maximus around the house all the time.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like before YouTube, right? Like before YouTube, and you could like look up cool fight scenes, you had to like know which movies had cool fight scenes, and then you could like get your buddies over and be like, and pop in the DVD and be like, all right, here's the cool fight scenes in Gladiator. Let's all take 20 minutes and we're all gonna watch this.
For
like,
sure.
and like this was also like the first R-rated movie, or like one of those like first R-rated movies that my parents were like, yeah, you can watch this, and like it was very much that like acceptance of like, yeah, this is cool and it's violent, but it's like it's an adult and tasteful. So like you're ready for this now, kind of thing. But I'm sorry to talk over you, Tyler.
No, I would agree. I think it's definitely one of those movies too where, you know, you can get away with watching at a younger age. Not that like I was underage watching it, but
he was 7.
it's really it's really just it's not what you would consider like rated R nowadays. There's really like no swearing in it because it obviously wasn't like around in that time period as well, which they hold really true to. But it's really more or less just the gore. But yeah, man, huge respect for this movie. I am excited for the second one. It's crazy that it's taken this long, but
Weird,
I'm kind of glad that it has.
Yeah.
You know, you do get some of those things that we obviously have nowadays that are so oversaturated and we're just beaten over the fucking face with superhero movies and shows and all this other bullshit. And like, you know, I hope this Dune Prophecy show doesn't ruin the movies for me. Like, why do we have to do that? So it's just, it's one of those things where, I'm actually kind of glad we haven't gotten a lot of content in this, but, you know, I'm hoping that, it can still hold true to the original, but I'm excited for it. I love this movie. This movie is definitely a huge recommend for me. But yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be a recommend for me as well too.
I mean, yes, I'll say recommend because I think it's not a bad film though, right? So I kind of want to be clear with my statement
Let
on that.
Ridley cook.
I would recommend it to anybody who is like even to some capacity a cinemaphile. If you haven't seen it, you should watch it. And if you're just a casual moviegoer, then like, yeah, go ahead and give it a watch. It's a monumental movie.
Russell Crowe's really good in this as well too. Like
He is very
said.
good.
Like he's doing a lot of great face acting.
Yeah, so I'd throw a recommend on it, Adam.
Yeah, you know, I it's boring sometimes through, you know, the movie. He's got some slow moments, but it's still a good movie. I can recognize that. You can shake your head all you want, Nathaniel. That's just
I don't
how I'm gonna
understand
feel.
how you can watch Dune fucking 2 and say that Gladiator is boring. Or Dune 1
2's
as well
sick.
too. I mean, like that's a 3-hour movie that I wanted to
Dune
put my
1's
head
very,
in the
very
sand for.
dialogue driven as well.
Lots of sweeping
about-
vistas of a fucking nothing ass city that I can draw on
Yeah, but
AI in
it
2
looks
hours.
so cool. It looks so cool.
Think about this
Yeah,
Roman Empire,
that's where we're at then.
motherfucker.
So do we want to jump into spoilers in here?
Yeah, we
for
can. We can.
Basically, a 25-year-old film.
I also just want to add some of the best quotables from a movie. Are you not entertained? Will live on
Okay,
for a long
so-
time.
I may get killed on this podcast.
Oh no.
I did not know that was from this movie.
Oh,
So but like I said, I've only seen this one time, and like it wasn't that monumental to me when I saw it. That's why I've never went to rewatch it.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
then when it happened, though, I was like,
Oh shit.
okay,
20 years
that-
of references make sense now.
Yes, for sure. And that's when it hit me. I was like, okay, I know what I'm watching now. So okay,
Yeah.
that's
yeah.
funny.
All right. Well, with all that being said, we're gonna go ahead, and I'm gonna recommend, by the way, but we're gonna go ahead and head into spoilers. So if you have not seen Gladiator and do not want it spoiled for you, you can go ahead and check the episode description where I've left a timestamp you can jump to, or you'll be taken to the ranking of the movie up upon our Entropy list. Spoiler time, Nathaniel.
Ooh, let's do some applause because we're in the Coliseum.
There we are.
Woo! Yeah. There's only like 4 people cheering on this applause as well too, so that's not very accurate, but it is what it is.
It's a slow day at the Coliseum.
Shit goes down.
It's a day 149. Like no one can afford tickets to the games because of inflation. Once the emperor died, like the price of the gold Roman. I don't even know what they were called.
If you were paying attention to the movie, you realize that Joaquin Phoenix's character was paying people to go to the games, so that was also how they were bankrupting the empire. But I mean, clearly you just thought it was boring and weren't paying attention to the intricacies of Ridley Scott's movie here.
Maybe because I fell asleep again.
Yeah, I mean, that's also on you
Mentally.
as well too. Maybe you're just maybe Russell Crowe just put you to sleep. Have you thought about that? Have you thought about
Maybe.
the fact that Russell Crowe
Terrible.
just makes you comfy? Want to go nap?
He does make me comfy. I feel protected by Russell Crowe in this movie.
That's what I'm saying.
What an honorable man, by the way. What a way to set up his character just in like the first, 5 minutes. He's got some great lines.
That
He's
opening
like,
battle rules.
Oh, it's
all right?
awesome. It's awesome. Just the anticipation, the setup, and then Quintus goes, I wish people would know when they were conquered. And he goes,
Would
would
we?
you know, Quintus?
Yeah.
Would we?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, that's such a good line. And then he says one other thing, in the same kind of along the same kind of lines, and then he gives that little like pre-battle speech.
Yeah.
And he's like,
If you feel the sun on your face, don't worry. You're already
You're
dead.
already in Elysium. Yeah, so good. What a great way to set up his character. That opening battle is sick, and you definitely they just build him up so well. As like, yeah, you could tell like everyone respects the fuck out of him.
Oh, how
everyone
cool is
everyone knows Maximus?
the bit when they're supposed to kill him and he's like, the frost. Sometimes it makes the blade stick. And then
Yeah,
it's just,
that one's sick.
just owns that dude.
Yeah.
Yes, Maximus. Yes. And then he goes home and he's sold to Africa. And that was always a weird
Yeah, I know. I thought about that as well. I was like, we're going real far here from Germany all the way to the desert.
Germany to Spain to Africa.
Yeah, that was an odd journey for me to make. But hey, he made it
for sure.
you know?
That was interesting to me. And I guess since now that we're just kind of chatting about it, but yeah, the only thing that was really interesting to me, or not, I don't take that back, not the only thing, but one thing that I did find interesting in the film is just that it's the story of like a white male being enslaved, and
Yeah.
then he like overcomes the odds and comes out. And I was like, that's just so. It was just a weird time. But then at the time this film is made in 2000, that's not that crazy. You
Yeah.
see what
Right.
I'm saying?
Well,
So-
it's not as crazy as having Russell Crowe to pretend to be a Spanish guy.
To be a Spaniard. Yeah, I was thinking that too. And I was like, I don't even know if he has a Spanish accent this
No.
entire
No,
film.
he doesn't.
Not at all.
He doesn't look Spanish either. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, those were kind of the small hiccups I had, but it's still.
But then you get like that weird thing of like where they just got like some old school actors in here as well too, with your Richard Harris and like your Oliver Reed. Like Oliver Reed is just fucking bodying people left and right on the acting
Mhm.
department in this one. When he's talking about like the cheer of the crowd and like men like getting ready to die for it, I was ready to run through a brick wall. I was ready to go to go join the Gladiator school with him, and I also believe that Oliver Reed could kick my fucking ass, even however old he was in this movie, where he died, and like halfway through the middle of it, and they had to CGI his body in the last bit or face replace him.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, the whole last bit was Russell Crowe. Maximus was supposed to fight Proximo in the final battle. That was going to be what it was. But Oliver Reed like drank himself to death in the middle of it, so they had to rewrite the ending basically on the fly. Yeah,
Yeah, I
Alrighty
didn't
then.
know that.
yeah. He like
Well,
drank like a bottle of whiskey, went to a pub, got in a fight with a guy, came back home, drank more, died. Like he was just that kind of dude. And then would show
It
up the next
happens.
day, stone sober, and just like deliver his lines like a pro kind of thing. Like,
Yeah.
you know, one of those old school actors.
like a James Harden, you know, just you'll be at the clubs.
Don't
and
know,
you know, till
don't know
4 a.m.
anything about that, but yes, that's what I'm gonna say.
Blake's got my back.
I'm
Blake,
with you. Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah,
okay,
for
thank
sure.
you.
He's
thank
kind
you.
of from that era of acting where like how loud you yelled was how good of an actor you were as well too. you
Sure.
know?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think this movie's a blast. I think it is like a little bit of a like kind of a time capsule as well too. And
At this
maybe
point, definitely.
if you weren't there to begin with, I can understand where you're like kind of not in. But like I don't know. For
I'm
these,
sure in 2000 this was sick.
Yeah.
You know?
That's
And
the
even
thing,
to
man.
be fair, even
Like-
in today's time, the action sequences are still captivating.
They do hold up.
I will 100% agree to that. Right.
This
So
movie has
watching them-
aged really well for being 24 years old.
For sure.
It 100% has. There's definitely movies that
For sure.
came out after this that have not aged that well.
Yeah.
Ant-Man and the Wasp came out 2 years ago, and it
For
looks
sure.
like shit. So,
For sure.
you know.
The only battle that kind of stuck out to me that didn't age the greatest was, ironically, probably the first one. And it's only short. It's only certain scenes, I should say. But they eventually go to like the really like the slow mo. You kind of get sometimes, and it goes over like a grainy filter, kind of.
Sure.
That's the only time where I was like, okay, you can tell this was filmed in like
From
90,
2000. Yeah.
2000,
Yeah.
right? But the Gladiator action sequences, those are phenomenal.
All right. So
Yeah, they are.
that being said, there's something about like that first one where he gets the MF Doom mask, which obviously MF Doom took from this as well too. Like
So
that needs
that
to
was
be
the
said.
next thing. Is like I didn't even know. And I was like, he's wearing the MF Doom mask, and then it hit me. It's like that's probably where MF Doom even got that from.
100%.
So yeah,
Yeah.
it was a lot of realizations
Again,
watching this. movie.
Gladiator has seeped into the culture more than I
For
think
sure.
people have realized
sure.
ever,
For
right?
sure.
But like when he has the MF Doom mask and he goes on and he's like, anybody in the army? And someone's like, and someone to the right of him is like, oh yeah, I served with you at X and X.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
so that means there's someone else there that recognizes who he is
Right.
before he's ever like done it, and it's just never brought up again. Like you
Yeah.
don't know who it is that says it. Like it's just a random
Yeah.
thing, but it's always stuck with me as well too.
No, I agree. I liked that bit too, because it's just like, oh, they know. There's
It
two guys
means-
that said it or something.
Yeah, it
and
means that
it's
they're,
like
like-
they know what's up.
But it also means that like there are men from the army that like it's that little bit of world building that like we all often talk about where it's not exposition, but it is
Right.
that little thing where you're like, oh shit, okay, so there are other people that are in like a similar position to the one that Russell Crowe is in now, where
Yeah,
like
for sure.
maybe
been
they've like
exiled.
yeah,
basically.
or they've gone into debt or something like
Yeah.
that. Now where now they're forced to do this to
Mhm.
like do other things and make ends meet and that kind of thing. Yeah, I always found that a really interesting bit as well. I've talked a lot. I'll shut up for a bit.
No, you're good. I love what Ridley Scott does with like the frame rates in this movie. Plays with them all the time. Slows the you know, and if you don't know camera stuff well, it's the sequences where things are kind of choppy. There's one right after the battle, the battle that starts the movie, where they're kind of like walking around the battlefield, just kind of like surveying, and it's kind of when you first see Marcus Aurelius, and he's looking on and sees Maximus, and then Maximus shouts like victory or something like that. But it's like choppy, it's slowed down, and they're kind of, it's not necessarily stop motion, but you kind of just notice that things aren't smooth. And that's obviously it's shifting the frame rate of the camera, or the shutter speed of the camera down compared to the frame rate. So I guess I shouldn't say frame rate. It's shutter speed that he's playing with. So how fast, there's, don't want to get into how cameras work, but it's you kind of got to line shutter speed and frame rate up. It's how fast the shutter on the actual camera is closing relative to how many images that the camera is taking at one time. Typically, you have to line them up so that the shutter speed is close to double of what the frame rate is. And that's what, most things that you see are shot that way. Like that's how cameras are supposed to operate when you're doing video. And when you change it, it changes how the camera, obviously, it gives you a camera kind of effect. Like it'll affect how the image looks. So if you slow the shutter speed down and you don't change the frame rate, that's what you're going to get. Is you're going to get kind of like stop motion-y, kind of blurry images that kind of look choppy. And when you speed the shutter speed up, you're going to get something that looks way smoother, or is moving way faster than it really should. And there's an instance, after he passes out on his farm and they find him, which, pause really quick on that stuff. Who's on his farm? Like they just find him in the dirt outside his home. Who grabs him? Like how did they get?
Yeah.
There's no no explanation for like who found him and how they knew. Anyway,
Just some slavers hanging around.
I guess, yeah. But yeah, he's like on a cart on the back, and they do a bunch of like fast motion shutter, fast.
Yeah,
shutter
that
speed
weird
stuff,
thing
yeah.
where he's like floating almost on the cart.
Yeah, exactly. And he's like, he's floating. You see his head, and it's just like the gravel kind of moving weird, and like he's moving. Yeah, like that. He just plays with the camera a ton in this movie, and does it really, really well, and for some great effect.
Ridley Cook.
He's a good man. He's a good director.
Yeah. I still don't think we've given, and I guess we'll let Ty jump in here too, but I still don't think that we've given enough credit to Joaquin Phoenix.
Great.
And maybe it's because this is essentially a new quote unquote film to me.
This was
right, but I'm like, he is phenomenal.
I remember watching this on my first time, and like it made me not like Joaquin Phoenix for like 3 years.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I was just like I was unable to like separate the whole art from the artist kind of thing, and I was just like, no, I don't like that guy. He's the worst.
For sure. For sure. The guy kills his own fucking dad, right? And basically sways it as he didn't
kiss
kill
his
him.
sister.
Yeah, man. He's
what's all that about?
Scum. Before he jumps into the actual the challenge, I guess you could say, the duel, he fucking injures him. You know what I mean? Just does everything where like I can't fucking stand this guy, and I hope he dies. But yeah, Ty, what are your thoughts? This is one that holds close to your heart.
I mean, you guys already kind of, clicked on a lot of the main points, but practical effects.
Sure.
This thing will absolutely continue to age well because it was done at a time where CGI wasn't that big of a deal yet. And you had to rely on sets and costume design and, people working specific things. And so, yeah, it's just, they just do such a good job at, world building and being able to put you in specific situations. And, like Adam was saying earlier, not only does he play with frame rates and all that stuff, but just when dialogue is being shot, I thought it was hilarious earlier that your piece, Nathaniel, this was definitely of a time era where like the better actor you are, the louder you act. And, that's just like, the most famous line from this movie. Are you not entertained? And, it's just so good. I thought all the battles were good too. My favorite one was the Battle of Carthage, where they have the chariots riding along. Yeah,
the
and
barbarians
fucking blitzed in half.
Single columns.
But yeah, man, just everyone is just absolutely doing their utmost on this. Like I said, this is where Russell Crowe really kind of became like an action hero, in my opinion, and somebody that really stood out for me above a lot of different actors from that class, we'll say. And yeah, that's where I think he obviously continued to grow. But this is definitely one of his his bigger movies for sure from his younger years, and then you get Joaquin Phoenix in this, and he really does just dominate when he's on screen. He's very captivating when he's talking to pretty much anybody. And then another thing too that really like just kind of puts me even more into this time era is like everybody's kind of like able to like play with their voice a little bit in this, and I think that tends to be a little bit more of like the Coliseum-esque thing. Like your voice just does carry different in a Coliseum. That's also kind of why they were built the way that they were built, is because the audio and how it carries, because microphones were not a thing back then. So it's very cool to see how people can kind of manipulate their voices as well, in a sense, to kind of not only play to their character, but also kind of captivate you a little bit more, pull you in a little bit more when they're on screen.
I'd say too, it's kind of like strange to see a movie where you have this kind of like big action set pieces and these big heroes, and they're not jacked out of their minds too. Like he's like Russell's in good
a normal dude.
He's in good shape, but like he's not like, I think it's really like 300 that is like that like divider mark where like after 300 like you have to be that like absolutely like roided out freak if you want to be,
like you look at Alex Skarsgård in The Northman.
Yeah, 100%. Like
right.
Yes. Sure. Versus like Russell Crowe, or even like the big dudes in this are just like, they're just like 6'5", and they're just like,
yeah, exactly,
like
for
just
sure,
big fuckers. Like they're
right.
not like, they don't look like they're in the WWE either.
Yeah, different kind of strong.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like I don't know, like for me, this movie like it still hits that weird balance of like they didn't like, not everyone is Hollywood beautiful, so like there's still that kind of almost like realism element to it, but at the same time everyone's a great actor too, and you've got a really competent director, so it does feel like the thing of like, okay, this was a good movie that we used to make. And like that means something in 2024.
Yeah, you can tell that from watching it.
Yeah.
Too. I think you said the other week that this was like blockbuster films before they came like 200 million and
sure, yeah,
a ton of CGI and shit like that, you know. So
yeah, this was like you do 6 months of storyboarding and you go and scout your locations ahead of time, and everyone gets the costume set up, and you build some sets, and you do some blocking
novel concept
with some lighting. You don't shoot a bunch of shit and just hope someone can fix it in post. Like,
yeah,
Yep.
yeah, and also want to give a shout out just to the costume design in this, which has some of the coolest masks. So we touched on the Gladiator mask. Effectively, it turned out to be the MF Doom mask, which was mind blowing to me when I saw that. But then also in that same, I think it's that same battle where he's maybe it's the battle after that, but it's the mask that's basically the full like shield over his face and has tears on it.
Oh, the dude they bring out of retirement. Yeah, like
that's a fucking awesome. This is one of my favorite
tiger fight.
Yeah, the tiger fight.
Was so sick.
Yeah,
for sure. I saw that. I was like, oh, that's fucking dope, man. So yeah, the costume design in this is excellent.
No, that's a good point. That might be my favorite fight, honestly. Is the tiger one?
It's up there for me.
I think
obviously the chariot one like is iconic. But that one's also really, really cool too, because it builds that element of like, where I think the Joaquin Phoenix character, Commodus or whatever his name is like, yeah, well, it's been taken care of, and you're like, oh, okay, so they got this like ace in the hole kind of thing, but then they throw in the tigers as well too, and you're like, oh shit, like this, Yeah, I don't know.
Sorry, really quick. I have it on in the background, and I just got to the point where Russell Crowe stabs the guy with two swords, pulls him out, and then slices him in half.
Oh yeah,
that's pretty cool.
When he kills, is that the second like Africa fight where he's killing people too quickly, and he gets the
pretty much yeah. That's the "Are you not entertained?" I'm pretty sure.
And then that follows up with the Proximo where he's like He's like, I wasn't the best because I killed everyone. I was the best because I had the crowd on my side, kind of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. And when Proximo was talking about when he was a gladiator, and he's like, you don't know the power that comes to the Colosseum. It's like thunder. You know, you're the thunder god. It's just like, oh my god, dude, he's hyping this up so much.
Telling you, man, Oliver Reed, he's a good actor.
Yeah.
There's a reason he's a legend. Shadows and Dust. That's a great line as well too. He's just shouting that at him.
Who knew being a slave could sound so good? You know, he's like,
Jesus.
he's just really, really hyping.
We are
it
getting
up.
canceled. We are really getting canceled after this one.
Well, it's just funny because you're like, he's hyping it up, and it's like realistically, these people are all slaves.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Yeah, they do start the
For sure.
we who are about to die salute
it's
you.
an interesting story.
Yeah.
But yeah,
That's
so
fair.
where does this put? Where is this in Joaquin's Phoenix filmography? Did we discuss that? So was this like his massive breakthrough?
This is when
I would say
he
so.
came out to everybody.
When is Signs though? Is Signs the same year?
Oh, Signs is like
Signs.
03.
Signs
Okay.
too.
So maybe he rolls this into Signs, and then it's like, okay, he's a fucking megastar. Yeah.
And
I
then he
see.
fell off right
I
after
know
that.
Joaquin Phoenix.
From Ladder 49.
Nope.
There's a deep cut for
from
anyone out there.
Dude, what a-
Now I gotta pull this up on IMDb. A firefighter injured and trapped in a burning building has flashbacks of his life as he drifts in and out of consciousness. Meanwhile, fellow firefighters led by Chief attempts to rescue him.
should not watch.
I don't want to. I don't want to. That sounds bad.
Not
No, my biggest.
No, it's a good movie. You will just end up in tears.
Oh yeah, it's a great movie, but
Association.
you're just
It is good.
balling by the
Oh, I
end of
thought-
it. Yeah,
Got it.
It
Okay.
is good.
But no, I know him from Her. Her is the
figured
is
just
my
that.
association for
Yeah.
Joaquin for sure.
I would say this and Signs are probably my biggest movies for him.
That would
From-
make sense.
From when I've seen him, or like when I can.
yeah.
Well, I didn't even know he
like,
was in
recall
this.
back.
When I
Really?
put it on the very first time, not this watch, but like
Sure.
the very first time I put it on, I saw him and I was like, took me like
One young Joaquin.
three. I was like, is that Joaquin? Like prepubescent? Like, yeah, man, is that him? But yeah, you know, he kills it obviously. But no, I had no idea this was. I mean, I just associated Russell Crowe with Gladiator. I had no
Right, for
idea
sure.
Joaquin, because you know when you see this movie and you see clips
Sure.
from it, people are not showing Joaquin Phoenix. They're not showing Commodus. Like obviously they're showing Russell
Mhm.
Crowe.
Oh my
Um,
God.
But I never realized he was such a big part of this movie.
I will say I feel like Connie Nielsen could have done more. She doesn't get enough time in this movie and doesn't really get.
And her character's kind of reduced to like
I feel like because they're
kinda
so,
like
they're so
a little
committed.
bland.
They're so committed to the Russell Crowe character being in love with his dead wife that they like don't like let that
Well, that was weird
develop
for me.
anymore.
It's like I don't, because he's got that great line. Obviously, when he reveals the masks, my name is Maximus Aurelius. Father to a murdered son, husband to a murdered wife. Like hard ass speech, hard ass
Yeah, for
monologue.
sure.
But like that doesn't hit as hard when I'm like, but aren't you like still in love with this chick? Like I don't care about your dead wife as much because it doesn't seem like you do very much. Like it seems like you still got thing with this chick.
Did you
So,
not?
yeah, I don't know.
Did you not see the bit where he was snotting all over her feet? Like that was the whole bit.
I get that bit, but then before that bit, they were reminiscing.
Listen, I mean,
after in that camp.
Times were different back then, man.
Yeah, he's got his,
I guess so.
his first
They were
lady.
very
Side
different
hoe, I
back then,
guess,
for
you
sure.
know?
Yeah, you could have a wife and a mistress and probably like 3 other bastard sons, and
Plus, like,
nobody would
sure.
bat an eyelash, dude.
Yeah.
No.
A few slaves on top of that, and you're a god.
People didn't care.
So, like, it's different times than
If
where
they-
we're at right
I was
now.
gonna say,
Clearly.
if the emperor's daughter is coming on to you, that's a free pass. I feel like that's a hall
Yeah,
pass,
for sure.
right?
Yeah, that's a
Like,
get out of jail
You know
card
what?
for sure.
You're not wrong. That
it's
might be a
like,
hall
babe,
pass.
it's either that or I was fighting in the Coliseum next week. Like, pick your choice, realistically.
Babe, I had to.
I had to. I couldn't do
I
anything
had
about
no
it.
choice. Don't try that at home, ladies and gentlemen.
No, do not recommend.
Yeah.
Newsflash, folks.
all right.
Don't take advice from a 24-year-old movie on dating.
Yeah, on relationships, right?
Yeah. Set
Yikes.
1,000 years ago.
Yeah.
Yikes. All right, fellas. Anything we are missing here before we head on out of spoilers?
Yeah, overall, like I said, I don't want it to get lost in communication. It's not that I don't like the film.
Mhm.
It is an awesome, it's a cinematic masterpiece of its time. The action still holds up. As I said, Joaquin Phoenix is excellent in this. Probably my favorite role I've seen him to date, to be fair. I think it sounds so Gen Z of me, but I'm so accustomed to how movies are filmed now that like if this movie's filmed now, it's in essence, it's like I hate to say this. This is like this in modern times is like a Dune Part 2 of like almost the same story, but you also get action. You also get it's very dialogue driven. It's very plot driven. You get certain fight scenes. You get action behind it, and it's just shot masterfully. And I think I'm just now accustomed to watching. Had this film come out post 2016, right?
Yeah. But Dune
Very
2 could only muster one gladiator scene, whereas this movie had a whole movie.
That is true.
built around it.
That is true. I'll give you that. That's true. There's inherently more gladiator scenes than like 1-to-1 hand combat, I guess you could say, close quarters combat.
That's true.
I mean, I would argue you got 2 gladiator scenes in Dune 2.
All right, well, that's still 2 less than the movie Gladiator.
Like, I think your point also comes to the fact that like it's just hard for you to kind of see this movie on a big screen.
Mhm.
You haven't ever seen this unless it was, at home.
Yeah,
So I think it's hard to kind of realize that this movie was in theaters and it was, the cinematic adventure that it was.
Yeah.
I think if this movie is made today, which I guess, we'll see next week, because it's obviously going to be.
Yeah,
Glad
that's
2
what I was
is
gonna say.
very-
We'll see what a modern gladiator looks
Yeah,
like
and
next week.
I hope it's not like CGI'd like crazy. I don't think it will be.
Yeah,
it'll be pretty hard because
I
you
don't
do
think
have
so.
to hold true to the times.
I agree. I
Um,
would hope it's not a fucking CGI fest.
But obviously, I think it's.
I mean, we
gonna-
saw Napoleon and it wasn't egregious. You know.
I'm not holding out hope.
Throw a football over that mountain.
All right.
Want to throw a football over the mountains? You have so many boats.
Teeny, you fat lard.
That's
I don't know
Napoleon.
how we got to Napoleon
And then
Dynamite.
I guess then speaking of Gladiator 2 though, does that take place? When does that take place? Does
I don't know.
anybody know?
I think it's like
Or-
20 years after Gladiator.
Okay.
Yeah, it's literally like the same timeline we're on.
Okay. And I don't want to be, I guess it wouldn't be culturally insensitive because I'm black. But how accurate is, I guess we don't know what character Denzel Washington is playing, but it's like, how accurate is it for Denzel Washington, the black man, to be? Is he supposed to be like the emperor or something like that?
I don't
do
know.
we not
I think
know
he's
his
the new
character yet?
Proximo. He's like he's
Okay.
a guy that's like made his way up there and now he's making moves, but he thinks the best way to do that is to like influence the gladiator fights and that kind of thing.
Okay.
So I
Denzel
think-
plays a character named Macronus.
yeah, he seems
But
like a mover and a shaker, but an outsider moving his way up kind of thing. to
Okay.
me.
Okay. Yeah, I was just curious. Like, what is that? Was that even feasible at that time?
Right? Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
I've seen other depictions of like the gladiator times, like Spartacus is another one.
Uh-huh.
Where he's not he's I forget what his name is. But
Spartacus?
he's moved. No. One of the guys that
Oh.
he moves from like slave status to like the trainer of like all the
Oh, you're
gladiators.
talking
and so
Okay, I've got you.
the Peter
I
Mensa
don't-
character. Yeah.
yeah, it
The
really,
Germanian guy.
No, in Spartacus, he's like
I'm
he's
sorry.
a former gladiator that has now like won like kind of his freedom, or more or less. So now he's the trainer kind of.
Yeah,
dude.
I got
Yeah.
you. I got you.
Yeah.
So
I got it.
I don't think it's completely. I think it is feasible because I want to say that those times were more or less that like it didn't really matter. Like anybody could be a slave, anybody could be bought. So
Sure,
it wasn't really
yeah.
more or less a race thing. It was more or less just like how hard you wanted to work or what your situation was, or
Sure,
sure.
But I think there was always the ability to be able to move your status up if you kind of worked your
you weren't-
politics around the right way,
Yeah.
or if you
weren't
kind of
being
found yourself in the right situations.
I
got you.
If your
Okay.
people weren't being conquered that week or whatever, like
Yeah. Doctori.
Yeah, the Doctore. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. Yeah, that's a
Okay.
man. Talk about a crazy show.
Fair enough. Yeah, I wasn't knowledgeable of that, so I was just curious on where it's at. But yeah, hopefully it's not a fucking CGI fest. I would hope not, because the practical
agree.
effects in this one hold up well to what Ty was saying.
True. Well,
Be good.
I think so.
Cool. Welcome back, listeners who skipped over the spoiler segment of the podcast. We're going to go ahead and throw Gladiator up upon the Entropy list. For those of you who do not know, the Entropy list is Back Row Banter's official list of all the movies we have reviewed, regardless of genre, regardless of anything else, all on one fantastic list. It's essentially how we rate our movies rather than do it out of 5 stars, out of 10, whatever it is. We throw up all the movies we review on a list and see how they compare to one another. If you want to reference the Entropy list for yourself, you can do so by checking the episode description where it's linked to my Letterboxd.
Well,
Episode 213 here, gentlemen.
213.
All
All
I
right.
don't know what to like compare this to necessarily.
I've got a spot. I've got an idea. I've got a thing
Oh,
to compare it
jeez.
to.
That was fast.
I'm so fast.
What are you thinking?
So the thing that came to my mind was original Terminator,
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
which I think we have way down at 87, which again, we're at
Correct.
213. So there's a lot of movies to
sure.
choose from here.
Well, 209 if you want to be particular, but
I don't want to be particular. So 87 puts it in good company. That's with Dr. Sleep, who we like, Good Will Hunting, Red Line, Tokyo Drift, Coherence, Bullet Train. And that would be, that's above Wakanda Forever, Power of the Dog, Weathering with You, Paid in Full. So, yeah, I think that might be kind of where I'm hanging out right now. If not, the other thing I was kind of thinking would be more like the Boy and the Heron, Nightcrawler, American Psycho area. But
Yeah,
a little
I
higher,
agree.
late 60s.
That's where I originally thought you were going to place it.
yeah, I
But-
think Terminator I just saw there and it kind of
Yeah,
threw
it's a
me
good
a little
film.
bit. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna put it. I'm gonna put this above Nightcrawler, below Boy and the Heron. So I'd be 68 actually.
68. Okay. I don't mind that.
I think I know where I'm going to go. I'm going to make it short and sweet. We're looking at older, quote unquote, actions, cinema blockbusters per se. My cap is going to be Predator at 97.
Oh, OG Predator.
So, yep, OG Predator at 97. So I will go ahead and put this at 98. I'll do one above Rebel Ridge, which we did like, but I can, with
This
everything
movie's
going
so
on in
much
this
better than
film,
Rebel Ridge. Though.
yeah,
I
for
don't
sure.
know.
I'm putting it above that, but I think my cap is going to be Predator.
So you're at 98 then. All right.
Yeah, and that's right below Frozen, Blade, District 9, which District 9 is awesome. as well. That one that's quietly been kind of pushed down to the dumps. And then it's above, I would say, after that Predator drop off is
Pretty steep.
subjectively, yeah, a pretty
Yeah.
steep cliff in terms of quality of movie.
All right.
All right. I've got my spot. I'm gonna lay it down there at 92, below Weathering with You, above Paid in Full. I think there's also
Despicable. Despicable.
Ty's rolling in his fucking grave right now.
I mean,
pre-grave.
I don't know, man. That just feels right for me.
This is the beauty of the list.
It is the beauty of the list.
You get to find out what our
I could
individuals
definitely
are, and then
I could definitely put it higher and not be like upset about it. I just personal enjoyment is kind of just weighing heavily on me on this one for whatever reason. And I look at Weathering with You, I'm like, that's still one of my favorite movies on the list. That has sank all the way down to 91.
Sure.
And I think there's definitely after District 9, which like I agree is maybe a little too low, but maybe not that low. But like Nightmare Alley and below, like I don't know, Nightmare Alley is a little high for me.
For sure. In hindsight, I agree with that.
Nightmare Alley probably
Not
should
better
be a
than Blade.
94. Yeah. So there's definitely some movies below that one where I'm like, I could definitely put this, maybe my personal enjoyment of those movies. Oh man, there's some movies that sank really low on here. But
I
okay.
mean, to be fair, I like this more than A Knight's Tale. And A Knight's Tale is 77. It's just
See, I like A
Now
Knight's
hold
Tale
on.
more. I like A Knight's Tale more. Yeah.
I thought I was gonna have some people side with me. Everyone's like, "Yeah, I don't know
No.
what the fuck this guy's talking about."
Yeah, no, I really like A Knight's Tale. But yeah, I'm feeling good about 92. That feels like a good spot for me. Not too low, not too high. I think I'm splitting good middle for me personally on where I'm at with this one. So I'll leave it there. Ty, you're last up here.
yeah, it was funny that Blake said that right at the end, because the first thing I saw was A Knight's Tale, but I do like this movie probably just a touch more than I do A Knight's Tale.
Yeah.
But I even think that A Knight's Tale is a little low, and I really do. I mean, dude, if you do like those little movie brackets where people are putting movies up against other movies, this thing's going high, dude.
That's very true.
This is I mean, Blake, you said it again. You literally, blockbusters of the world. This thing was absolutely massive when it came out, and I think it needs a little more credit than what's been given out, and so I'm gonna cap it at one of my heavier gatekeepers, which is Starship Troopers. So I'm actually gonna be at 45, above Judas and the Black Messiah, below Starship Troopers.
I'm happy you said that though.
I agree. I was about to say that. I'm happy that you're
carry
giving
a lot
this.
of weight in this ranking.
Yeah.
I'm surprised Nathaniel wasn't as high as up there with you. I thought Nathaniel would be a little higher.
Yeah, I thought so too.
I love this movie and I like have it, but it'll never be. It's not one that I'll like personally be like.
He already said he doesn't care about the Roman Empire, guys.
Yeah, I don't care
yeah.
about the Roman Empire.
He could care less.
Sorry. Now for the Spartacus,
Right.
that Spartacus TV series, I definitely rinsed that
Insane,
shit.
dude.
Yeah,
So good.
I was all up in that.
Such a good show.
Well, with all of that being said and all those rankings in place, we get an average rating of 75.75, meaning it'll go below Kill Bill Volume 2 and above Inside Out at 76. Sorry,
kinda
Inside
like
Out
that.
2. Inside Out 2 at
That's
76.
respectable.
That's kind of
Yeah,
where
That is
I like
respectable.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I do like
Yeah,
that.
and I just watched Inside Out 2 last night.
That's good.
Shout
That's
out.
a good one.
2 really good films. So yeah, respectable.
Yeah.
It did
I-
push it.
I'm cool with that one.
And slightly above A Knight's
She's
Tale.
pissed, guys. Can we put Inside Out 2 above? She's pissed.
Oh, did you hear that?
No, she's just like, better not have moved it down. I was like, it did. She gave me a look. I was like, we're gonna move it up. We're gonna move it up.
I can put Inside Out 2 above this.
No.
Listen, Ty, she's not going to listen to the podcast. Just tell her that we
She
put it
listens
above.
sometimes. She listens when the movies pertain to her.
Well, this one doesn't. She's not going to listen. Just tell her that we put it above, Inside Out 2 above Gladiator.
She said stop doing horror movies, and she'll
It
listen
means we
more
just
often.
gotta put Moana at like 6 or something, right?
Yikes. Oof,
No,
I'm not doing
Moana's.
that.
I'll
I'll quit the podcast before Moana breaks top 10.
We've done the favorite. Moana's not one of the favorites. Still a good movie for us, but not one of the favorites.
Okay.
If you really want to like put her favorites up there, we gotta start looking at like the oldies. We gotta get like Mulan, Pocahontas.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind getting Mulan on here. I love
Yeah.
Mulan.
We can get the OG Shrek on here, all-time classic.
That is a classic.
Let's get down to business.
To
Oh,
defeat.
so good. The Huns.
Yeah. It is kind of crazy in hindsight, though, that we're getting both Moanas on here before doing like an OG Toy Story, Finding Nemo, anything that Tyler's just talking about, Pocahontas, Mulan. It is kind of crazy we're doing 2 modern.
That's fine.
Mulan.
I mean, there's a new one coming out, but that's spoiler alert, Blake. That's 2 weeks from now. You know, the listeners can't worry about what we're doing after Gladiator 2. Don't worry about that. I mean, bit of sizzle. It's not a big deal. You know, prepare for that, listeners. We'll be doing Moana a little bit. But before you worry about watching those movies, worry about catching the screening of Gladiator 2 this weekend. That should be pretty much out by the time most people are listening to this. Catch it in your local theater. You know, biggest screen possible. I think we got an IMAX screening this weekend that Nathaniel and I will be attending to.
It's true.
But yeah, check out Gladiator 2. That's going to be the review next week, and then you can join us for our review of that. All right. Now that we're out of the review segment here, we don't really have a lot of time for watching, and it's getting kind of late, so I think we can just skip over it. We talked enough about Jake Paul and Roman Concrete at the start of the episode, so I think we're good. You know, let's.
If anybody cares, it is finally a race weekend, but since it's in Vegas, it's pushed up. So FP1 is currently live.
Oh,
There it is.
are they doing a sprint this weekend?
Maybe. I honestly don't know.
I was reading something. I want to say it was this morning when I was getting dressed for work. It was one of the F1 drivers. I believe he's Japanese. I don't want to put
Yuki.
I don't want to put the incorrect Asian nationality on him. But he was saying that he was having difficulties getting over here for customs, but he was just
Joe.
Anybody else read
it's
about
either
that?
Joe or Yuki. Is Joe still on the
Okay.
grid?
Yeah.
I haven't really been keeping up as much this
he's
season, to be
Chinese.
honest. Yeah, I know he's Chinese, but you know, still Asian. We are, you know,
I suppose
threading
you're
a
right.
fine line this episode.
yeah.
I mean, like, we haven't really said anything bad, but like, you know. Anyway, all right, let's get on out of here. Please share the podcast. You know, share with a friend, a family member, maybe a gladiator or two that you might know. You know, share it with them. While you're doing that, make sure you follow the podcast. Follow us on Twitter at Banter Row, on Instagram at Back Row Banter Pod, and our YouTube is just Back Row Banter. Please go subscribe to us there, even if it's not your primary place of listening. And we also have an email if you want to send us any emails or questions or anything like that. That email is backrowbanterpod@gmail.com. Yeah. That's it for show plugs here. Let's toss it over to Nathaniel. Where can the people find you at, my man?
Yeah, you can always find me on Twitter and Letterboxd at @NSGingrick. You can find me on Instagram at at NathanielG92. Tyler, where can the people find you?
Instagram, Letterboxd, and X, all Tyler Vidalis, Vidales. Adam?
You can find me on Twitter at H24 and on Letterboxd at Aish. That's AYYSH.
Blake?
Who's left here, Blake?
Yeah, Letterboxd, the BlakeHolder. I'll be on there, log some things, rate them out of 5 stars. PSN, Xbox, Instagram, Mr. Watercooler. Ghostface just came out on MK1 yesterday.
Oh, dude, I've been seeing a bunch of clips of people or like the fatalities and stuff. And
Yeah. So I haven't got a chance to play him, but I do think this is why I'm going to give in and actually purchase the DLC so I can play with Ghostface. The dialogue looks awesome. Characters have specific intro dialogues depending on who they're playing against or who they're fighting against. And so you just get really interesting dialogue. So you actually get a fucking Ghostface Omni-Man dialogue. That's just really cool. And like each of them get about 4 different sets of dialogue. But just talk about just worlds blending, right? Who would have ever thought we would hear Ghostface with the actual
it's
voice,
pretty cool.
right, through the tape recorder, talking shit to Omni-Man. So yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome. But that's what I got. Find us next week doing Gladiator II, which is Pedro Pascal and Denzel. All right, fellas?
Paul Mescal.
There it is. And we'll BRB.
America. Ready for another lesson.
When are you ready to come over to the Barnes and Noble side, bro?
We'll talk.
Get you 5 hours a week. Unloading.
I really
boxes.
don't know. Unloading boxes. I mean, shit. If I don't have to talk to people and I just get to unload
Get that
boxes,
half price A24 script.
I
Yeah, right.
I just might.
I was gonna say 5 hours a week. I might be in.
Yeah.
Just to hang out.
Hey, if
with
the
the boys.
boys are all gonna go work at Barnes and Noble for 5 hours a week,
same
and
5
just
hours.
unload trucks, I am 100% there. I'm 100%.
That's what
bad
I
gig
keep.
at all.
That's what I keep
That's
pitching
like
to my
pitching-
boss. I'm
I
like,
was gonna say, just
listen.
pitch it to your boss and just be like, I'm just gonna bring in some
like,
big
listen.
dudes.
Yeah.
No, you don't know how many times I've had this conversation where I'm just like, listen, if you give me, it doesn't even have to be like 5 hours a week. Like, give me a weekend. I can get 4 guys here. Just give us half price on like those scripts. And like,
Yeah, right.
you could pay us in that, and like we
buy
will
us lunch.
Yeah.
Buy us lunch and give us like a discount on
we'll
the Criterion collection.
We'll rearrange
or some
whatever you
collectibles.
need. Like,
Yeah.
like, we'll move
For
some
sure.
shit.
I'm actually just in it for the Legos and the Pokemon cards.
Fine.
I don't really
Like, that
care.
works
Yeah,
too.
I'm down.
We can get it done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You've had no idea how often I've had.
We
that
say this
discussion.
jokingly, but I would 100% be there if that, if that was the
If
arrangement.
it was guaranteed that we were all gonna be there, I might. Yeah, it's.
I would
almost-
I would show up. I would set aside my.
It's almost a
plans.
lock.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So let me know, Nathaniel. I'm definitely there.
Let
That's
me
the
know,
case.
guys. Yeah, I'll let them know whenever they need the crack squad. I'll
Yeah.
I'll send up the flare.
Okay. Put the BRB signal in the sky.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
All
Just
right.
start blaring Back Row Banter from the loudest speakers you can
The
find.
boys are back in town.
The podcast is just like blasting over everyday life everywhere across the world.
It's like that spitting Kingsman where everyone's got the
Yeah.
their
Right,
own.
yeah.
Yeah, right. Or like when the villain takes over like the communications.
Yeah, and like
across the whole
Superman.
world, just, like,
yeah.
pops up.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, where is it coming from?
America.
Who are these people?
Are you ready for another lesson?
Yeah, but the thing is though, it's gonna change the actual language to wherever it's located geographically.
Canada.
Jesus.
Are you
Yeah,
ready
right.
for another instruction, eh?